Welcome back to For 90, where today I will be going over my MLS 22 under 22. And for those of you who don't know what that means, basically it is just the best 22 players in Major League Soccer under 22 years of age. Obviously, that will be based on how well they played this season, but it will also take into account their pure talent and the potential that I see them having, or in other words, how high their ceiling really is. And we can dive right in with number 22. I put Obed Vargas, the central midfielder from Seattle Sounders, and I went back and forth with Owen Wolff here, the central midfielder from Austin FC. They are both 18 years old, but ultimately, I believe that Obed Vargas has more potential, that slightly higher ceiling than Owen Wolff does. And really, I do have some questions over how well Owen Wolff can move into Europe. Can he successfully make that jump to the next level? I'm a little bit less confident in him being able to do so than I am in Obed Vargas. That being said, they are both very, very talented young players and with tons of potential. So it'll be interesting to see which one of them throughout their careers, but especially over the next few years, can capitalize on that talent. Into the number 21st spot, I put Jason Russell Rowe, the forward from Columbus Crew. And again, I went back and forth here with Bernard Kumonga from FC Dallas, but really the reason that I went with Rowe is because of the numbers that he's been putting up in limited minutes. He has just over 500 minutes this season with 4 goals, 3 assists. He turns 21 next month, and most of those appearances have been off of the bench for Crew because they have a stacked attack there, and it is difficult to get those minutes. I personally have watched Kumonga a little bit more, but Russell Rowe, I think, is very talented and deserves to make this list, so I put him in there at number 21. Moving into number 20, I have right winger Christian Kike Oliveira, who has actually only played 81 minutes thus far in MLS, but immediately got called up to the Uruguayan national team from LAFC. He is an electrifying direct winger. He is probably the fastest player on LAFC already. A $5 million transfer, obviously a U22 initiative signing for LAFC. And yes, he's been limited, but what he has shown so far is very, very good. Obviously, LAFC like those Uruguayan wingers, and Kike Oliveira looks to be the latest in a quality line of them. Into the number 19 position, I have Talus Magno, the left winger from New York City FC, and really he should have been at the top of this list, but he had a very, very disappointing year. After 7 goals and 8 assists last season, he regressed massively to just 3 goals and 1 assist this season. And I will say I believe that his positioning, especially early in the year, had issues with this. He's been playing as a striker, whether in a sole role in the early season or in that dual striker role more recently. But he is a pure left winger. Putting him in that striker doesn't work out for him. And so I think, hopefully, that the addition of Monsef Bakrar in the number 9 position for New York City will be very helpful. He's looked good so far. Magno, if he can get going with Bakrar in that true number 9 position and Magno coming off of that left, I think that will be best for him. And really, Magno, like I said, should be going back to the top of that list. Hopefully he will do that next season. Into number 18th, Dylan Borello, the left wing second striker type of player from New England Revolution. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL in April and is out for this entire season, which makes him very hard to put on this list. He could have gone a lot higher. But I think that, his potential is great, but he still needs to be able to prove it on the pitch. He hasn't been able to do that due to injury. Hopefully next year will be that time for him to do so, and he can move into the upper echelons of this list. At number 17, I have Andres Gomez, another right winger, can play in that right midfield, really in the situation for RSL this season. He does only have 1 goal and 4 assists due to a recent slump, but I am still a very, very big fan of this player. He came from Millonarios in Colombia, which, by the way, is the same place that Chicho Arango, the new RSL striker, of course, came to LAFC from. But Andres Gomez is just a purely exciting player to watch. He is obviously still young, and therefore I think that the comfortability, that confidence does play a role in how well he performs on the pitch. But as he grows older, that maturity will come, and I think that will only improve his performances on the pitch. His talent, though, is up there, in my opinion, with some of the best players on this list. Hey, if you're looking for MLS content on YouTube, this is the channel for you. So hit that subscribe button and join the Upper 90 community. Thank you so much, and back to the video. Into the number 16 position, I have Cade Cowell, the left winger from the San Jose Earthquakes. He is currently, of course, with the U.S. men's national team, but the real question for Cade is, when is he going to get that move to Europe? The Quakes rejected an offer last summer from Stade Reims in France. They also resisted an approach this summer from Bologna in Italy. That was an underwhelming $3 million offer. This is arguably, in my opinion, the most interesting long-term transfer saga in MLS at the moment. That mainly, though, is because his goal production has gone down in the past couple of seasons, which is counterproductive to getting that move to Europe. He only has 1 goal and 2 assists in MLS play this season, so he needs to get back to his best on the pitch so that Chris Leach can do his work in the front office and get Cade Cowell that move that he deserves. Into the number 15 position, I have Diego Luna, the central midfielder from Real Salt Lake, another player that I am personally a very, very big fan of, and I have been for years, dating back to his time in El Paso with the Locomotive. But ever since the U20 World Cup, he has been getting more and more minutes for RSL. The next piece to his game is to add those goal contributions on a regular basis, which I think he will do as he continues to grow. He has 3 goals and an assist this season, and yes, this may be a high ranking for some people, but in my opinion, Diego Luna could actually be even higher. I think he is that good, in my personal opinion. He is just as good as the guy I put in 14th, which is Benjamin Kramasi, the central midfielder from Inter Miami. And the reason that I nudged Kramasi just above is right now, of course, he is with the U.S. men's national team at the moment, although Argentina, of course, remains an option for him, which I'm sure Messi will get in his ear a little bit about. But you know, he has really jumped up since Messi arrived. Since that, a couple months, he has been the best couple months of his season and really his career. He's taken the 2 winning penalties in Leagues Cup, including to win Leagues Cup for Inter Miami, not only showing his composure just at 18, that confidence, but showing the faith that the rest of the team, whether that be Messi, Tata Martino, etc., have in him to take that penalty. So, you know, future is very bright for this young kid, and hopefully we can get him to commit to the U.S. men's national team and have no risk of him going to Argentina. Into the 13th spot is Stipe Buzek, the left winger from LAFC, and yes, he has had an underwhelming first season with only 3 goals and an assist. He needs to ramp up that goal production, but I think that his underlying numbers, especially in the beginning of the year, were really, really nice. I think that when you look at the eye test from him, it's that final product that has been lacking, but he is very dangerous with the ball at his feet. He will create a lot of shot creating actions is what we look at in a stat for Stipe Buzek. But a $5 to $7 million transfer fee reported, depending on who you believe, from Hajduk Split in Croatia. He was a Golden Boy nominee in 2022, which just tells you the level that he is. And really, that would put him, you know, in the upper echelon of this list. But due to the underwhelming season, of course, that drops him into this 13th. Many people I know didn't even put him on this list, but I am keeping faith in him turning this around in next season. I'm a huge fan of Stipe Buzek personally, so 13th spot for that one, no doubt in my opinion. 12th is Tomas Aviles, the center back from Inter Miami. Again, this is somebody we've barely gotten to see, of course. He's only had 3 games in MLS, but he already looks very, very good. And if we're honest, the only reason that he came to MLS is because Lionel Messi is in Miami because, of course, Tomas Aviles, also Argentinian. $9 million signing, of course, is no joke as well. Expectations are very high, come with that type of price tag, but that does mean that flipping him for a large profit may be very difficult. It'll be interesting, though, because obviously the eyes come on Miami a lot more. He is playing well. That type of thing will be very, very interesting to watch, but definitely one of the more talented young players in this league. I've seen people put him much higher on this list. Another player that could be much higher on this list, in the 11th spot I put him, Chris Brady, the only goalkeeper actually on this list from the Chicago Fire. And well, yes, he's conceded a lot of goals. That's just because Chicago are bad. He is top 5 in goals prevented among all MLS goalkeepers, being 6th in shots faced. And yes, he's not quite the next Gaga Slanina so far, in my opinion, but he is showing a ton of potential. I think that he can absolutely get there. I know some people rate him even higher than I do. Some people have put him at the very top of their MLS under 22 list. For me, he falls right in that middle area because he could absolutely prove that trajectory and just go to the top of the game, but I still am yet to be convinced he's quite as good as Gaga Slanina was. Into the top 10, and number 10, I have Caleb Wiley, the left back from Atlanta United, who started out the season just banging in goals from the wing. He has 4 goals and 2 assists on the season. He's truly a left back, of course, where he has now moved back to. He is that pen-in starter in the left back position now that Gutman has moved to Colorado. Bids have reportedly come in for him around $5 to $7 million. As an Atlanta homegrown, they would get all of that fee. It is a big fee, but they obviously haven't accepted that yet. So it's interesting to see what kind of number they will accept for Caleb Wiley. He will move to Europe sometime soon. How soon is the question? At only 18 years old, it's not really a rush. And Atlanta seem happy to hold out for a relatively big number. So definitely a transfer to keep your eye on at the end of this season. In number 9, I have Juan David Mosquera, the right back from the Portland Timbers. And I know the reaction to this is probably 9th. And to that I say, yes, absolutely 9th. He is currently with the Colombia U23 national team, but he has already made his debut for the full Colombian national team. He has 2 goals and 4 assists from right back, which is absolutely impressive enough. But the eye test when I watch him just tells me that he is elite. He had interest from Europe before he came to Portland. They were able to snag him instead for just about $2 million. I think they will be able to flip him heavily when they decide to sell him. Just an incredibly talented player. And I think really under Miles Joseph, Portland seemed to be getting their fullbacks, further forward as if they were wingbacks, really, into that attack and getting more involved, which is what Juan David Mosquera excels at. He has a little bit of improvement to do on the defensive end, but he's still good on that end as well. Into the number 8 position, Jack McGlynn, who plays the number 8 in central midfield for Philadelphia Union. Yet another extremely talented Philadelphia Union, homegrown. But the problem, of course, that remains with Union is that it's hard to get that playing time in that team because they're just so good. McGlynn, with his talent, has been able to do so, but limited in a sense. He was very, very good also at the U20 World Cup and has interest from across Europe, specifically it seems from England, which I do think would be a league to fit him or a country that fits him in terms of the style of play. But Philly are looking to keep him. He is still 18 years old. They want to keep him through the offseason if they are able to. That, of course, will depend on the type of bids that come in for him, though very, very talented player. At number 7, we're going back to Miami with left winger Facundo Farias, who can play in that second striker type of role as well. I promise this is the last Miami player on this list, even though Diego Gomez was arguably snubbed from my list. Farias was cheaper, though, than Thomas Aviles, who we discussed earlier. Farias was only $5.5 million, but his ceiling is really the highest, in my opinion. I think due to the position, that really helps because I saw Farias score his first Miami goal in person against LAFC, where he looks like he is really finding that sync with Messi and the rest of his teammates. Looks like he is going to be a very impactful player as he continues to progress. He has only just started with Miami, obviously, and has settled in rather quickly, it seems. Of course, it helps with all of the pieces that Facundo Farias has around him in Miami, but definitely deserves to be in that upper level of these lists. Could have been even higher, in my opinion, for Facundo Farias. In the sixth position, I have John Tolkien, the left back from New York Red Bulls. He's an MLS All-Star for a reason. He has been consistently fantastic throughout this season. And to me, the combination of the stable fullback with 4 assists and a goal this season, of course, that goal being a free kick winner in the 88th minute, he has done really everything you want. He is a well-rounded fullback. He will be in Europe very soon, and I think that is really what he kind of excels in a way, over other young fullbacks that maybe are good going forward or good defensively. John Tolkien is very, very good at both, and I think that's what puts him, for me, in that number 6 spot. Into the number 5 spot is Brian Gutierrez, the attacking midfielder from Chicago Fire. And yes, the Fire have been bad, but Gutierrez has been their shining light even more than Chris Brady. In my personal opinion, his 1 goal and 5 assists would be a lot more if the team around him was any good. He is by far the most productive player on the team at only 20 years old, so I'd be very curious to see what he could do on a good team. But Brian Gutierrez absolutely deserves to be in this top 5, even though that might look high to some people. Into the number 4 position, and it is a player that could be at the very top of this list in Alan Velasco, the left winger attacking midfielder player from FC Dallas. And he's not at the top of this list because it has been a poor, disappointing season from him. But he is still at number 4 because that is just how high his ceiling is. 2 goals and 2 assists are very poor. Dallas should not be on that bubble of playoffs. If he were playing to his potential, they wouldn't be. But like I said, that potential is very, very high. And I think that he has had some good performances that maybe not have resulted in goal contributions. But yeah, he'll definitely need to bounce back next season, and I expect him to be at the top of this list next season if he is even still in MLS at that point. Into the number 3 position, we are getting into the very, very best here. It is Aiden Morris, the defensive midfielder from Columbus Crew, arguably the best DM in the league this season. Morris is the last of the 2 All-Stars along with John Tolkien on this list, and this has also been his breakout year on the offensive end, grabbing 4 goals and 2 assists from that defensive midfielder role. He's just so well-rounded, and really, in my opinion, the best compliment I can give him is that he plays like he's 25 years old despite being 21 years old. And I think playing, obviously, in the same team as Darlington Nagbe has really helped his development, which doesn't feel limited by MLS in any way. And that said, European clubs should come knocking very, very soon, but it doesn't feel like he's limited in any way in MLS. He can continue to develop. He's just very, very impressive throughout the season from week 1 until now. Into the number 2 position, which most people have put this player number 1 on their list, Noel Buck, the defensive midfielder from New England Revolution. And I remember seeing him in the first few games of the season when he came to Los Angeles and New England got demolished 4-0 by LAFC, but he still looked very, very good, even though New England were very bad on the day, and it only got better from there in a truly breakout season for the 18-year-old. He has now been called up to the England U19 national team, which caused quite a stir when he said that U.S. soccer really hasn't given him the time of day. I think there's been some overreaction to these comments. In reality, I don't understand why people are upset. It is a great decision from him to accept that U19 call-up. He needs to get the attention of U.S. soccer if they're not giving it to him. and you know, whatever's best for him. If he wants to go play for England, if England wants him, that from a player's perspective is the best thing. And he's got a ton of roads for where his future might go, whether at the club or the international level. And that really, really is a good thing for him. And it's really going to only go upwards. Now, obviously, from a U.S. men's national team perspective, we want to tie him down. Hopefully, U.S. soccer gives him more look-ins because he is as talented as it gets in this league at that age. So tie him down. Greg Berhalter, get him, call him in, do like you did with Kramasi, my opinion. But with that, we move into the number one player on this list. And for me, it is Jalen Neal, the center back from LA Galaxy. And no, this is not too high for Jalen Neal. Sure, he needs to bulk up a little bit, but what young center back doesn't? More importantly to me, he is the definition of a modern ball-playing center back with all the potential in the world. He has been slightly hampered by injuries this season, but he went to the Gold Cup with the U.S. men's national team, exemplifying, you know, the type of breakout season he's had. And really, I do not have enough compliments for Jalen Neal. I see him by 25 years old playing for a top team in Europe. I think he is that good. And it tells you because I put him first ahead of Noel Buck, which is a heck of a decision for sure. With that said, though, there are a bunch of players who were left off of this list. My first 10 out, I will just list them off quickly for you, were Pedro Vite, Diego Gomez, Owen Wolf, Daniel Edelman, Bernard Comungo, Nathan Ordaz, Theodore Cudi Pietro, Nathan Saliba, Darren Yappi, and Adilson Malanda. Those are in no particular order, but all of those could have made this list. Tell me in the comments which one of those you think should have made this list, or maybe somebody I didn't even mention. Did I get this order out of whack? Let me know what you think on my list, and also if you want to just tell me your entire 22 under 22 list in the comments, please let me know. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscription. It really, really helps out the channel, and I will see you next time.